Rubba-lubba-dub-dub, my fellow squanches. In case you didn't know, Rick and Morty is back with Season 7, and it has started with a, well, not quite a bang, not even a boom, more like a poot?
I'm not going in there.
Ooh-wee, I'm Mr. Poopy Butthole, and this is Rick and Morty Season 7!
But hey, we're back to new weekly episodes, and if my sources are correct, we'll be getting them continuously through the end of the season with no hiatus or breaks, so that's something to get excited about. Now, I won't be diving too deeply into any of these episodes. I'll reserve that for the future episode ranking or any video essays I decide to do, but even so, there's a lot to dive into with this first episode, aside from my overall thoughts and rating, so let's get started. In case you're unaware, Justin Roiland has been axed from the show, though he is still getting executive producer credits thus far in Season 7, after being charged with domestic battery and false imprisonment of a woman he'd been dating back in 2020. The charges have been dropped, but Adult Swim and Hulu have severed ties completely with him for their shows Rick and Morty and Solar Opposites. Now, whether you agree with these decisions or not, Roiland being out for the foreseeable future meant that hunts for voice actor replacements were hot and heavy for quite some time. And since his ousting, all eyes have been on the lookout for casting announcements. Obviously, we got to see how Solar Opposites managed this earlier, with them opting for a completely new voice and accent for Roiland's lead character, Corvo. Dan Stevens, a British actor who kept the British accent for Corvo, was certainly a choice, but honestly, I thought it fared well for that show. However, Dan Harmon and Mike McMahon have kept their choices close to the chest, opting to keep the voice actor identities confidential until Season 7's premiere, most likely to help protect them and for strike-related reasons, seeing as they wouldn't be able to promote it anyways. And honestly, I liked them, both Ian Cardone as Rick and Harry Belden as Morty. There are some slight differences, but they're extremely close to the originals, and from what we've heard, they had to go through some very rigorous auditions, callbacks, and other challenges to prove their talent and secure their roles. And besides, these slight differences are nowhere near as jarring as some other shows where there were no actor replacements. Sometimes actors and their characters' voices change over time. It's completely natural. After watching the newest season of Futurama and then going back to the earlier seasons, there are some notable differences. Now, Cardone and Belden are basically nobodies in terms of past credits, but I really appreciate that, one, these guys were chosen based on their talent and not their connections or relative fame, and two, we are getting two new actors who can hopefully riff off each other during recording sessions. That's something two actors can allow for that a single actor like Justin Roiland can't really do. So hopefully they have the chemistry, and hopefully it shows in Season 7. While we're on the subject of voice actors, let's take a quick pass at this episode's guest star, Hugh Jackman. Now, Rick and Morty is no stranger to guest star voice actors, but I believe voice actors playing themselves are fairly new, or at the least very rare. We've seen a lot of big names roam in and out of the R&M universe: Taika Waititi, Peter Dinklage, David Cross, Key and Peele, Patton Oswalt, and Nathan Fillion, just to name a few. And while most of them play key characters within the episode, they usually play, well, characters and not semi-fictionalized versions of themselves. Save for Logic and sort of Elon Musk, Hugh Jackman is the only one to play a version of himself, and honestly, I wasn't all that big a fan of it. I thought it was fine, but it really left no memorable mark on me, and I doubt many people will consider it as one of the better cameos. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad to see that Jackman is a fan of the show and willing to guest star, but honestly, seeing what they did with him, it felt more akin to something you'd see in American Dad or Family Guy, which I found to be a common feeling with this episode. Overall, I found this to be a very light episode, a sort of easing into a new phase of Rick and Morty. It seems like the writers and showrunners were aware that without Justin Roiland, the show could and would need to find a sort of new identity. And while I think they're on track so far to find what this show can be moving forward, I honestly don't think that how Poopy got his poop back, good lord, I don't think that this was the episode to introduce us to this new phase. For me, this is not a season premiere episode, and even just as an episode overall, it was kind of average and bland. Like, it's fairly tame and tries hard not to offend, which on one hand I somewhat enjoy, but I think that's almost part of the problem with this season opener. I would have preferred this one to be more shocking and certainly more memorable, a kind of statement like, we're here, get over it.
Hey buddy, didn't expect to see you here.
Look, it's me, I'm here, deal with it, let's move on.
In my eyes, this is more of an episode 6, and certainly after a mid-season hiatus, where it can be marketed as a The Boys Are Back episode featuring Mr. Poopy Butthole, Gearhead, Bird Person, Squanchy, and Gene?
Have you been drinking? On a Thursday?
But also, a somewhat glaring issue with this as a season opener is there's practically no Morty. That's kind of a weird decision to make for kicking off this new phase of Rick and Morty. In the past, I would have wondered if they were behind the production schedule and maybe this one just happened to be finished first, so they rolled with it, but I don't think that's the case at all here. But then again, part of me thinks it's kind of a good idea to give us a Rick-centric and Poopy-centric episode to start off Season 7 with. But it would be conditional on Episode 2 or 3 being a very Morty-centric episode to help balance it out. I mean, look, we all want to see or hear what Cardone and Belden can do, and giving us 2 episodes that shine a light on each's abilities would certainly be a fine and welcomed endeavor. So we'll see where they take things, and hey, maybe we will get a Morty episode that explains why he's looking up monster boogies.
Well, that last one was just for shock value.
But getting more into the meat of this episode, again, I thought the plot itself was rather weak. It just felt like something was missing the whole time, and I didn't think it was Rick's voice or even personality, which was on the lighter side. This episode felt like a fine idea to toy with in the writer's room, but the whole time I kept waiting for that Rick and Morty special distinction, and we just didn't get it. Hugh Jackman being Hugh Jackman, the Predator showing up in a sort of parody, though I will say I enjoyed how they incorporated him with the Predator PI idea. And just the whole episode lacking a B-plot as we focus only on Rick and his gang getting together to support PB. Even their ending reference to the goodbye scene from Stand By Me, while funny, felt a little jarring for what I expect from Rick and Morty. Though I did appreciate the slight cringe humor from Rick with the fading and unfading pills.
And maybe he learned something about himself.
Oh, here, I forgot to give you a fading pill. Great for hangovers. Just to clarify, I had to take an unfading pill to counteract the original fading pill I just took.
Oh, okay.
And if you're hung up on why the taxi disappeared, the pills aren't sentient, but they do detect human coverings, so it saw the taxi as some sort of large overcoat. Doesn't matter.
Again, these are all things that I would expect to find in an American Dad or Family Guy episode, which are both shows I enjoy from time to time, but seeing as this is Rick and Morty, I walked away somewhat unimpressed. Hell, even just looking at Cardone and Belden right now, I can't help but think they even look like 2 halves of Seth MacFarlane. I mean, if you fuse them together just right. But all that said, I do think this was a very funny episode. Season 7 is already churning out some of my favorite gags.
Uploading business. Unfinished business detected.
You don't have to do this, Sheriff. It's your last day on the job.
That's exactly why I must.
Well, what happened?
I think it ran out of gas.
So he could have survived if he just stood back 5 feet.
Well, let's not tell his granddaughter that.
And to allow for a B-plot to fit in here, I feel like they would have had to cut out a lot of these jokes, which would have hurt the episode overall if they couldn't provide a hilarious B-plot. And on rewatch, this episode does get better now that I'm not patiently waiting for a big R&M twist. PB's arc is pretty solid, as well as the theme surrounding it, and I was really happy to see him get some time in the spotlight. He's been one of my favorite underutilized characters since he was first introduced way back in Season 2, so I thought he was deserving of an episode dedicated to him. Now, I'm not a huge fan of where they took things for him, it was all rather depressing, but he does get some good character growth here, so I appreciated the episode for that at least. All in all, again, this is a light hangout episode, which are episodes that I usually enjoy from all my favorite TV shows. The main issue that I have is this being a season opener for a new phase of Rick and Morty. So hopefully they can course correct and give us a Morty episode early on to balance this out, and hopefully things are on the up and up for Mr. Poopy Butthole.
Oh! This burns like hell! How do the other guys not react? Is mine different? It's like my skin is boiling!
But I want to hear your thoughts on this episode down in the comments section. Where do you think this one stands within the show's growing episode catalog? Do you like the new voices? Are you excited for this new phase? Let me know all your thoughts and theories down below, and I will meet you guys there to continue this discussion. If you'd like, I've got a ton of Rick and Morty ranking videos, which you can check out by using the link at the top of the screen right now, and I will definitely be continuing these with Season 7, so don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss that. But as for today, that's it from me. Thank you so much for tuning in and sticking around. I hope to meet you guys down in the comment section, but as for now, I will see you all next time.